Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Debra Erickson, Executive Chef and founder of The Blind Kitchen. Nembra is not only a talented chef, but also a visionary entrepreneur who has built a space to empower people with vision loss to cook safely, confidently, and independently. With her inspiring story of navigating culinary school as the only blind student and her work in adaptive cooking techniques, Debra is here to share a unique perspective on organic living, accessible kitchens, and the importance of inclusive approach to food. Together, we'll explore how organic choice intersects with accessibility, creativity, and resilience in the kitchen. Welcome to the podcast, Debra.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Can you share your journey to becoming a chef? What inspired you to create the Blind Kitchen?
You know, it's a lot of what your podcast is about holidays and observances and enjoying being with other people, whatever the celebration is about. And I have taught adults, and I love teaching adults, but I knew once I lost my vision that I wanted to teach adults again, but I didn't know what subject. So I was actually at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, and I was taking a meal prep class, and I had a lovely woman who's now my friend, but at that point she was my instructor, and she was teaching me how to cook blind. But I was not a very good cook anyway. But I had to learn how to, not burn myself and cut myself. And um, during that conversation, a light bulb went on my head, and it said, "Oh, I'd like to teach this. This is fun. This is interactive.
Oh,
It's different than anything I've ever taught." And I was hearing her story. She was hearing mine as we waited for the water to boil or the oven to preheat. And then the light bulb went off, and I thought, "But Deb, you don't know how to cook. You're not a good cook." And so I thought, so I did a
uh,
little bit of research, and I was like, "Oh, cooking is complicated. I mean, it's about recipes, it's about getting ingredients, it's about shopping, it's about cleaning up, and all that with vision loss. It just puts another layer of complexity to it." So I finally said, I I'm going to go to culinary school. That's how they teach cooking, and I'm very skills
yeah.
based, and I wanted to be organized and skills based, and so that's how it happened. I just said, I think I can do this. Maybe I can't. I'm not sure, but the culinary school was supremely supportive, and because of that, I had to learn to solve a lot of problems, and that's how I ended up with the Blind Kitchen, and I have not looked back at all.
Yeah. What you just did, you gave us the fast and the short version of the story. We'll back the story in the episode. One of the things I would love for you to let us know is when did this vision loss happen?
Sure. The initial signs were when I was 17, but I wasn't officially diagnosed till I was 28. And then I was able to fake my way through because I have retinitis pigmentosa. And that's where, for most of us, we lose our peripheral vision and our night vision first. And then but you hang on to that central vision, which allows you to get by without people knowing that you have a problem.
Yeah.
But eventually it went to the point where I was losing my central vision in a useful. And so that's when I went and learned Braille and how to use my phone and how to use my computer with just a keyboard commands. I had to learn a lot. And it was in my early 50s that I actually lost most of my functional vision.
It was at that point in time you decided you had the light bulb moment that, oh wow, I could do this. I could teach other people how to cook. And because I want those parts to really come into the story, because a lot of persons um at 50 they're like,
Mhm.
oh well, I'm done with,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done what I need to do with my life, and it's pretty much, let me just coast through life, and when death comes, it comes. And for you it was more like, I've lived the first chapter, now let's write chapter 2 of the story.
Chapter 2 and 3, because then I started a business. So I also
Oh, okay,
became a
we'll get
first-time entrepreneur. It's crazy.
okay.
Yeah. Who
uh
does that?
uh yeah, chapter 2 and 3, it was happening all at the same time. You decided that you know you had this idea like every person, and you're like, okay, yeah, I have this idea, it's fantastic, but I would need the skills to actually bring these things to life. And you're like, oh well, there's a place for that, culinary school. Going to culinary school, what was the experience like as someone who was the only blind student in the school?
Yeah, it was challenging, but also very rewarding. The other thing that made it challenging, besides of my sight loss, is that students were in from like 18 to 24. They were all much younger than I was. Not all of them.
Yeah.
There were a couple my age. So that made socialization a little difficult. I wasn't playing video games, doing all that stuff they were talking about. So eventually I was able to break through, and I was also always the last person picked for the team. Nobody wanted the blind lady on their team, but eventually over time we were able to problem solve, and I was able to spend time with each of the other students, and they learned that I was competent and I could bring something to the table to help with it. So it ended up turning out really well, but it was a slow and bumpy start.
Well, if when we talk about culinary school, what's the standard? And of course, the experience was great. But what was the standard event or occurrence in culinary school that every time I mention the word culinary school, it sparks in your head? You're like, oh yeah.
Well, it's kind of a funny story. A culinary school, you spend like a week on pastries and a week on bread and a week on eggs, a week on seafood. So it's broken down into 1 week. And during the week of eggs, that can be very difficult with vision loss, like flipping them, knowing if they're turning brown because you don't want them to turn brown. And so I had a sighted person help me like the first 2 months of school. She couldn't help me with anything or give me any information but she helped me to know where the things were in this huge commercial kitchen. It wasn't a good use of the chef's time to be showing me where the pans were
Yeah.
and stuff. So she would describe to me what the chefs were doing, and one of the chefs was doing an over easy egg, and he took the pan and he didn't use a spatula. He just flipped the egg up. He just did
Ooh.
a wrist thing, which
Yeah,
is
like
very
this. Yeah.
common. Yeah, it's very common, but I had never done it, and I thought that's the way we had to do it. So the day of the test, well, at home, I had a friend that worked in a fast food restaurant. He said, get a piece of toast, put that in the pan, and then flip it, a cold pan,
Yeah.
and then just practice flip till you can get that wrist motion in. And so I got it to the point where it's about half the time. And so, but I had the practical was on Friday. I had to do it. So then I got like 3 dozen real eggs, and I put a work tray, which is just like a basic cafeteria tray, next to the stove where it was. And I would put the egg into the pan. And when it came time to flip it, I wouldn't flip it over the stove. I would flip it over this tray. So if it didn't make the pan or the yolk broke or something, the
To
mess
fall
would
on the
be
tray.
contained.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was getting it right about half the time when the time came for the test. And so then I went to, when I went to school, I was like, I'm going to do this first. Otherwise, I'm going to be so anxious about it. I'm not going to be able to concentrate on making my omelet and my poached egg and all the other things I had to do during that short time period. So I was like, Chef, I'm ready. And he's like, ready for what? And I was like, I'm ready to flip my egg. And he got it. Nobody told me that everybody else was using a spatula, that it wasn't mandatory. So he had everybody stop. He said, come over here. We're going to watch Debra flip her egg.
Wow.
And so I'm standing there. I'm like, oh, great. This is helpful, knowing that I've got an audience as well. So I just did a short prayer to the egg gods. Please let this come right. And I flipped it, and it worked. It worked.
Wow.
It came down, and the yolk didn't break. I felt like I won an Olympic
Wow.
medal.
Wow.
But that's a great search was how hard I worked at it. And how difficult it was, but then how rewarding it can be. That's a good story that kind of captures it all. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing the story. I'm really glad I asked the question. Thank you so much for sharing the story. Yeah. How do I explain this now? Certain things that we do, sometimes there's certain things that just happen. They're not necessarily the thing itself, but we making progress in those things just open us to the possibility of what we could do with the main thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
So ask me again in a different way. I want to make sure I understand.
Flipping the egg, right? Of course, it's something you could have done with the spatula, but with every areas of life, same thing with running a business. There are little things that they're not exactly the thing itself, but making progress on those things gives us the confidence to do the main thing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think you make a really good point. And in teaching people with vision loss how to cook, there's a lot of fear about cutting themselves and burning themselves, setting the house on fire, all those things. And there's very few times in my life where I'm actually put at a place where I am afraid. And in front of a stove, I was afraid. Flipping that egg, I was afraid I was going to miss.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing it over the stove.
Your heart keeps.
So yeah, it's a gift when you are able to face your fear and overcome it. We don't get that as much as adults anymore. We choose not to be afraid.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to go there.
That's the word.
That's true. That's true. I did that before and it hurt. I'm not doing it again. But it's quite rewarding when you find yourself in a situation where it's a challenge and then you accomplish that challenge. It's very rewarding. And it makes you keep going forward to other challenges.
Yeah, I think the thing about doing big things and scary things is that when you do other things, you just remind yourself, well, I did this other thing. That was scary. This is not as scary as that. So yeah, this is just one of those things. I'll do it.
It's true. It is so true.
Yeah. Wow. The you mentioned, while I was talking about chapter 2, you mentioned chapter 3. You started a business. Prior to starting the business, the Blind Kitchen, you mentioned you were an instructor. I'm curious, what were you? What was your job? Okay, how do I explain this now? Before you started chasing this dream and this goal of the Blind Kitchen, right? You had a job, before you completely lost your vision. What was that job?
So before I lost most of my usable vision, I wasn't driving or anything. I taught professional writing and I also taught mediation to adults. And I knew I didn't want to go back to it because some people do go back to doing what they were doing even after they lose their vision. But I thought I'd be very frustrated because I wouldn't be able to do it the same way. And I knew it would be slower. So I thought I'm going to do something completely different. But all I wanted to do after culinary school was to come back to the Oregon Commission for the Blind and teach blind and low vision adults how to cook and in the teaching kitchen because I loved doing that. But I graduated in June of 2019 and went to work for them right away. And in March of 2020, COVID hit. And the whole world was confused about, could we teach in person? Yeah, it was so I was sent home for a year and a half. I wasn't able to come back into the teaching kitchen to teach. So it was during that year and a half is when I started the business. It's like I have so much valuable information here that I know other people could use. So it ended up being a gift in disguise for me because now, even though I love teaching one-on-one, 3 students a day or whatever it was, now I'm reaching so many more people with that same information that want to be able to cook again.
Yeah. Before losing your vision completely, in your 50s, while you were young, did you have the dream of, cooking, the culinary stuff, or was it more like, you got to, that period of your life and you're like, oh yeah, what could I do? And the light bulb moment, so I could learn how to cook and all that. Or was it more like a resurfaced dream that was probably buried over the years, while being an adult and doing other things?
That's funny because I'm one of 12 children. There are 7 girls. I'm the fourth, and my mother did not have time with us in front of the stove. In fact, she was pregnant most of the time when we were growing up. So I really didn't know how to cook, but I raised my 2 boys and I could cook things out of a can or out of a box or out of a microwave. So my youngest son is 6'5". So I did something right. They didn't starve to death, but I was by no means a good cook. And I didn't particularly enjoy it. I just didn't. It wasn't my thing. But it wasn't until that kitchen. And, sometimes the universe just comes together in a way that things were meant to be that I had no idea. I never thought I'd be, teaching blind people to cook. But now it's my passion. And I'm so happy it came together that way.
Yeah. Well, the original plan, going to the culinary school was, okay, once I finish culinary school, I'll get a job at the school and start teaching others how to cook, which is fantastic. But then you were like, okay, yeah, COVID hit. COVID was kind of like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it really was very seriously. I mean, a lot of people died But
Yeah, a lot of
but
people
a lot
chase their dreams.
that's exactly right. Now I had time to not just be caught up in my normal life. Now I was at
Yeah.
home doing
So,
basically nothing.
yeah, what's next? What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Plan B.
What was the step like starting a business? I mean, you've done one thing that was scary, going to culinary school as someone who was blind. Now you are starting a business, which you've never done even before you lost your vision. So it wasn't like, oh, I was a business person. You know, I know what I'm doing. I have the ability, even though I am blind. That doesn't really mean anything. You guys, you're completely
Right.
new at it. And what was it like?
It's more difficult than culinary school is
Mm,
running the business, and a lot of it is because, and I'm not whining here, but so many forms online and programs are not accessible. I can't. So when I use only
yeah.
my keyboard, and I'm using keyboard commands, and it'll just say button, 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 and I'll be like, I don't know if that's a
Oh.
add one more to cart, take one out of cart, check out, enter my card. I have no idea. So there are ways to solve that. There are services that I can pay to remote into my computer, and they're all bonded, and then they can fill out the forms. They control my computer. I tell them what I want them to type into those different places on the forms. But to tell you the truth, running the business has been, and then it also involves travel because I do speaking. And so that's difficult with vision loss. If you're traveling alone, it's how do you get from terminal to terminal? How do you get your own Uber? There are ways. There are absolutely ways. If I had to go blind, this is the time to do it with this, how technology is. And even AI now is amazing for the blind
Wow.
community, how it can
Yeah.
describe your environment. And sometimes it messes up for sure, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
am just amazed with technology. So it can be done, but it's always going to take me longer. I'm always going to be slower.
yeah.
And I feel like I have to work a little harder at it. But it was my choice. I chose it,
Yeah.
and I'm not quitting. That's all there is to
Yeah.
it.
Just in simple terms, before we go on with the interview, the your business, the Blind Kitchen, in simple terms, like what does it do? Like help me make sense of what your business is.
Sure. So it's an online presence, and we sell adaptive culinary tools like talking thermometers and talking kitchen scales and adapted measuring cups and spoons that you can use them if you have no vision at all. So we've got over 100 tools now, and then they all come with a audio described video, which means if you have no vision at all, you're going to know what's happening in that video because somebody's going to be describing what's happening,
Yeah.
and it tells it what it is, why it's blind friendly, and how to use and care for it. So people place their orders on theblindkitchen.com, and then we get the orders and we package them up and ship them to people.
Okay. So it's it's what's the word? I don't even know the
Like
word.
retail? Retail?
Yeah. So you sell huh? I'm trying to look for the exact word. You sell cooking accessories
Oh,
and the
adaptive
likes
culinary tools. Yeah,
for
adaptive culinary
for
tools.
with with accessibility beauty,
Right, and I stay with vision loss. I don't
or
know
specifically for vision loss. So okay.
specifically for vision loss. I mean, other people could probably use it, but that's where my focus is, and I'm very, very busy. I don't imagine I'll
Yeah,
expand out at any point in time.
yeah. Your story is similar like most entrepreneurs, right? They have a problem and then they solve a problem for themselves and they turn into a business, right? Um,
Exactly.
this what you're doing is something that's like, oh, how do I know if the thing is so liter? And you're like, oh, well, I wish there was something like this. I'm like, well, it's turned into a
Right.
business. Was that how the idea came about?
Um, well, the idea came about because literally of COVID, where I started really gathering the information. I had time to focus on it. And then all of a sudden I thought, other people could use this information. I couldn't even teach it to one person at a time. And so how can I offer this to the world in a way that is uh, uh, cost affordable. And the other thing I didn't tell you about the business is there's a ton of free information on the website that you can just go on there. How do you center up pan on a hot stove. If you can't see, how do you know it's on top of the burner? How do you brown meat? How can you tell if chicken or fish is cooked where you're not going to kill people if you feed them to them? So a lot of the information is free. The tools are bread and butter, but the Blind Kitchen Library is our heart, without a doubt.
Wow. So the information is free. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
Yes.
Well, you just sell the accessories, and the adaptive accessories are important. Wow.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Makes sense. Oh, that's genius.
Oh, thank you.
You started the business in 2020, right?
2022, we opened up. In fact,
Okay.
yesterday we turned 3 years old. That was
Wow,
the official day.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. Where's the
Yeah.
birthday cake?
Where's what?
The birthday cake.
Oh, the birthday cake. Oh, I did not
Yeah.
make one, but I should have. We did. So I have a social media presence. I don't do any of it because it's not what I cook. I teach. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I hire, but we did observe it. It also yesterday was Long White Cane Day, international, and that's where we celebrate the long white cane that helps us get around independently. So they both happened on the same day, October 15th.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was expecting, since the business is run by, it's a bit a caterer, food shouldn't be a problem, especially cake.
Cake is not a problem as a rule. If you could see my waistline, you'd know it's not a problem.
I'll be looking forward to the fourth and fifth year, so that I can take some coolers of rice and the likes.
Okay, put me on your calendar.
Okay. That is just to be clear, currently it's 19th October for me. The date you're referring to, is it 18th or 17th of October? 1/5. Okay. Okay. 1/5 October. Wow. Okay. Next year. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'll bring the cake and show you.
Oh, no. That would be enough.
That would be a tease.
Well, congratulations. A lot of business, they fold up first year, second year, and being going through business up to 3 years, it's remarkable, considering that this is your first attempt at it.
I feel that we were ambitious and stuff like that. It's my son and my husband and I that are running the business, but I hire a videographer, I hire a social media person, and I hire a website person. So I have the most fabulous team because they really have an interest in seeing this business survive. It's more than just a client. I'm more than just a client to them, because they feel, and they can see the social media comments and such, that this makes a difference in people's lives. And that's very highly motivating to most people.
Yeah, usually I think they call it social enterprise. It's a business, it's making profits, but it's also doing what's the word? It's like, how non-profits do this. I don't even know how do I explain this now? It's an example of a business. It changes people's life, but it's a business.
Yeah. So I know what you're talking about. It's like a good for humanity business, but it still makes money. Yeah. I'm not just,
we're not just making money, we're actually touching people's life and changing people's life. Wow. Thank you so much.
Well put.
Yeah. I'm really glad you shared your story. What would you say, for the past 3 years you've been doing business, and running the Blind Kitchen, what would you say has been when we throw the word around failure or fail, in the context of business? What are some of the scars you want to point to that? Oh wow, that did teach me a really valuable lesson.
The scars.
Yeah.
You're right. Every scar comes with a gift in its hand if you can find it. Getting off the ground was difficult because a lot of blind people don't use Instagram because it's all about pictures. And a lot of my customer base are people that are losing their vision because of age-related vision loss. And a lot of them at this point in time aren't good on computers, and certainly not good on computers if they can't see the screen
Yeah.
or use them. So it was difficult. We are You hit a certain point. I have had heard this, and I'm finding it to be true, where I was making phone call to blind centers, to organizations, to older adult living situations, saying there's a new resource out there. It's called the Blind Kitchen. Blah blah blah. But we grew very slowly for about the first year or so, and then we had an increased some more. But like the last 2 months, I'd say. Like we had 1,000 followers, like in the first 3 years or almost 3 years. And then all of a sudden we had 500 new followers in 1 month.
Wow.
It
Wow.
hits a tipping point. Yeah, it hits a tipping point where you think, oh, there's 3 more. Oh, there's 6
What's
more. Because
happening?
that's one way you measure success. Of course, it's your profit as well, but it's also, are you reaching people and are people interested in following you? That's how you
Yeah.
know if you're on the right track or not. And I think we're almost at that point now where it's going to be, we don't have to work that hard at getting followers. People are talking to other people. So yeah, it was at the beginning, I spent many hours on the phone just trying to tell blind organizations I'm here. And the American Council of the Blind has affiliates in every state, and it's run by blind people, and they are not professionals as a rule. They're there
Yeah.
to run it. And so I would talk, can I present at your meeting virtually? And the
Yeah.
other organization is the National Federation of the Blind. Similar setup. The organizations have different goals and different ways of operating in the world, but they're still both very valuable organizations. And so I feel like that part's now behind me. But there was a point at the beginning where I'm like, this is never going to take off. This is just not going to take off. But
Yeah.
it feels like we're here now. I think we're here.
Yeah. I think it was. It's. I don't know. Okay, I'm looking for the right word right now. Is a it's a place. I don't know what the word could be. Probably you'll help me out with the word, but you know, you know that there are people that actually need your products, right? You don't think you're sure about that there are people who need your products, but getting across and reaching out to them, the medium is just a problem. You can't really reach out to them if you don't have a medium to reach out to them.
Right.
And yeah,
And
wow,
mailing out brochures and stuff, that's not going to work for this community that can't read.
yeah,
Although a lot of people can read, you can use your phone to read it for you and stuff like that, but nobody mails out stuff anymore. Advertising, it's
yeah,
social media is the thing. But I think the other thing that you just triggered for me is that I don't have to be a salesman in this business. I've got
wow,
to be a smart business person. But if people don't believe they're going to use it, they don't want another gadget for their kitchen, if it's not really going to
yeah,
be helpful. So I don't have to try and convince people or, strong arm them or anything like that. If it's for them, they're gonna buy it. That's it,
yeah,
it's just the way it works. And I love that part because I hate asking people for money. It is not
yeah,
my comfort zone.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I feel like from unlike your story is quite different, right? You decided to go into cooking when you lost your vision. That's different from for most persons. Cooking is their life, right? Like that's what they do. They cook to release the stress. To think. They cook like that's just they always cooking. Every time you visit them, you start wondering what's happening. Like they're always in the kitchen, they're always cooking something, right? And
yep,
for them losing their sight, that's really hard. The thing that you love the most is just like if you saw someone who loves to sing and then you for some reason you just go deaf, right?
yeah,
That's really hard, right? And for such persons, for such persons, the friends, the family, the husbands, the partners, they notice, right? Everybody say that what happened, mom isn't as she used to be when she could see to cook, right? And I feel like those persons are also your target audience because they would say, oh yeah, mom, I just realized there's this lady online, she owns the blind kitchen, she does this, and with that you can still cook.
yeah. For a lot of people, cooking is their love language. It is
Exactly.
they're the star of their own cooking show because people,
Yeah.
especially we've got the holidays coming up, and there are a lot of traditions around cooking and a
Yeah.
lot of celebrations and a lot of activities. And if let's just say if your mother or your father, who's the main cook for the family, if now they can't see and they have no idea how to get in the kitchen without cutting or burning themselves, they lose part of their identity. So that's
Yeah.
part of what those are the most emotional emails I get are people saying, thank you so much. I thought I would never be able to be me again and do what I love to do. And I, I love that this helps those people in that way because it would make a big difference for me if that was my love language. It is now, but it wasn't
Yeah.
before, but it is now. And, but for a lot of people, and I know a lot of my relatives that I can remember how their food tasted and looked forward to them sending care
Yeah.
packages and cookies and whatever. So, yeah, this is a I am lucky to be able to do this. You know, I am really
For
lucky.
for most people, they don't know that it is even possible. They're like, oh wow, I guess it's one of those things I have to let go. And so
Yeah,
sometimes all it takes, right, is just the idea that wow, this is possible. You can actually do it and do it well, right? And they're like, wow, I never knew I could do that, and that's all. And they're like, oh yeah, what do I get the resource? How do I get this thing? So they probably get their son to order it and all that. But just knowing that it's possible, that's all it takes. And I really love what you're doing, going on to podcasts, giving talks, and reaching out to people. So the husbands, the families, the sons, the daughters, and all the people, they can get to hear and see the possibility and say, yeah, that's true. Mom, you can still cook.
yeah.
You could listen to this episode and conversations like that.
Yeah, no, that you're exactly right. Because a lot of the people, if I'm going to go back to the population we were just talking about, which are older adults that are retired, they don't want to go to a training center. You know, they don't want to learn all that.
Yeah,
And so, um, if they can find a way, they can do it from home. And they can do all this from home in their own kitchens, in their own comfort. So, a lot of people really resonates with them that this is something they could do.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing what you do.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you've often been praised for describing adaptive culinary tools with clarity. What's the biggest mindset shift you hope people take away when they hear your story?
When I am doing the descriptions, I mostly close my eyes and do them so that I am focusing on the exact physical aspects of them or what is the important piece of them. And if I did not have vision loss, I think that would be a lot harder for me to do because I know what I need to hear to do it. And that's how
Yeah,
I try to put it out um, to make sure without overdoing it. That's the other thing. There's a balance here, and part of it they can learn when they get it in their hands, you know. But it's giving enough information that they can get the gist of it, but not enough where they fall asleep listening.
yeah. uh, wow, I like that. How do blind kitchen is making progress. It survived, right?
Hmm.
Survivor is progress. The goal of business is to be in business. The goal of
Right, right.
marriage is to stay married.
Sure, sure.
Right? Right? It's not
I
like
didn't so good on the first one of those,
you're
but
not you're not
I'm
like
doing great now.
okay, congratulations on that. You're not like, well, I've conquered marriage. You don't conquer marriage. Like, you get to the point where hopefully you die with, you live to the old age and then you die, with married with
Right.
your partner and all that. And then same thing with marriage. Hopefully, you do business to the point where it's so successful, you either sell it to someone who is as caring as
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
or maybe, your sons, daughters, they could inherit the business, something like that. But the goal is for the business to always be in business and not necessarily, like, oh, I conquered business and like, well, what happened to the business? No, it's went bankrupt. And I don't really
Right,
know.
right. No, no, no,
Yeah,
you're right, and to tell you the truth, that's something I struggle with. It's like, there aren't that many blind chefs out there. There are a lot of blind cooks, but, you know, that's an instructor and a chef and can run a
yeah,
business, and so I think about that. Where will this go? I mean, one of the things I love about the blind kitchen is most of the tools will stand the test of time. They're not, I don't sell like appliances and things like that because they're going to be outdated tomorrow. I mean, we use
Yeah.
technology like smart speakers and, things like that. And the Meta smart glasses, I love those. But that's all going to change. And me making a video about how to use that today is not going to apply
Yeah.
next year. So most of the tools will stand the test of time. They're available. Most of them aren't made for blind people, but I teach blind people which model to get in the blind kitchen because I've tested, 10 of them, and this is the best one for us. So I believed that the blind kitchen can survive long after I am no longer doing it. But you're right, passing it on, that's something that's not clear to me yet. But I'm only 3 years in. I'm not going to quit
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, usually, when we talk about passing it on, usually we're always thinking of, the literal uh, idea of passing it on.
Mhm.
Sometimes you starting Blind Kinch, it could inspire me to start something like that over here in Nigeria. And
Yeah,
my
yeah.
business is doing well. It's crushing it and reaching out to people and all that. Your business has allowed me to start my business, and so now we're having different springs of different business that you don't even know of, or probably you. It's really nice if you know of that, but you know, you see, you've created a chain reaction, and that for me is really, really important because one of the things I noticed about businesses, we talked about social enterprises, that most of them they run out of money for some reason. It's
Yeah,
hard,
it's
right?
true.
It's
It
not
is.
easy.
It is. Nope. Nope.
It's not easy.
People don't throw money at you, especially if
Yeah,
you're a nonprofit. You're spending a whole lot of time writing grants and asking for money, and
yeah,
writing reports and answering to your board. That's one of the reasons I decided to be for profit, is because I wanted freedom to be able to do what I wanted to do without having a
yeah,
whole lot of gods to answer to. So just the
yeah,
gods, I'll answer to them.
yeah, yeah. Doing something for profit, it's actually charity. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
like
it
it
is.
is
It
because
is
yeah,
different hoops, different challenges.
yeah, yeah. What's important is that we do good in the world. That's the thing, and
I
the
agree
people
with
that
you.
we are selling products to, they love the products, and we're changing their life. So
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
the customer loves our products. So what else? Wow.
It's
Um,
true.
yeah. Do you have a radio show?
I do not. People have told me I have a lot of content, a lot of content. We have over 120 standalone videos,
Yeah,
and a lot of photography and stuff like that. There's a blind Barbie out there. We get a lot of traction when we put blind
yeah.
Barbie out there. But um, I lost the question again. You said, "Do
Do
you
you
have
have
a?"
a radio show?
No, I don't. People said I should start a podcast, but I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and that feels like for now manageable.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reason I pointed that out is I'm trying to think. I could be wrong because I don't even really know. But I'm trying to think. For someone who's lost their vision, they would um, go towards listening to audio content. For people that are older, older generation, for over a year, they will listen to radio, right? For people, they'll listen to podcasts, right? Because the thing with podcasts is that it's an audio kind of content, and so
Mhm.
when the conversations are happening, I won't feel lost or left out of the conversation because I cannot see what is on the screen. Does that make sense?
It makes 100%. And even when we were planning for this interview, I said, "Do I have to be camera ready?" Because
Yeah, yeah.
most podcasts I just listen to, and I love that. I hate going to a YouTube video that has the perfect title for just what I want to know,
Yeah.
and then you just hear music. I'm like, really, people,
Yeah.
really?
What's
So
happening?
exactly,
Uh,
exactly. My videographer said, and social marketing person said, "You've got to get on camera because people find that more interesting." They were right. They are absolutely right. We get more views when I appear on camera because most people can see that are watching these, and
yeah.
a video is more interesting than a blank screen or whatever. So, but yeah, but anybody on. So I do presentations for people. I do 2 monthly ones, and where people can call in and attend if they want to, and then they can. I do about a 10 or 15-minute spiel for an hour show, and then they can ask questions. I love that part of it
You do
because
that
I do.
every. Can you say
every
the time
month.
again? Every
Sure,
month.
every month. So
Okay.
the American Council of the Blind has a media channel, and I do it on the first Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And then the Blind United Interest Group, I do it on the third Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. And I always
So
do a giveaway. Yeah,
okay.
I love doing those. Those
Wow.
are, yeah,
The
those are good to
and
do.
I'm just curious. I don't really know the arrangement you have with those organizations, but do you own the content you make there?
Yes, I own the content I make.
So you can
Now,
do whatever you want with the content after the meeting.
depends. It depends. So, like some
Mm.
people, the Blind United doesn't record them. So, and we don't record them.
Oh. Oof.
American Council of the Blind does record them and give them to me. And even with podcasters like you, uh, my we get stuck. If you have a video on YouTube, it's stuck in the YouTube jail. You can't take it off and just download it. You can download it for you to play later, but you can't get a quality recording. So we try to get a recording of each of the podcasts, and it depends on who does it, because he can take it and then I go through and I say, these are the important points. These are points I've never spoke about before. And there's been a couple
Yeah.
already here. And then he can do like a short or a reel and do it really quickly and cross promote. So most people do give us the files so that we can play it. And of course, your intro will come onto it and your name.
Yeah.
This is the podcast I was on. And then most people are only good for about 30 to 40 seconds for those quick reels and shorts. And so then we have the content, but we still credit whoever the show I was on with it.
Yeah. I'm curious, and I'm going to just say it. Like, why don't you have a podcast? Like, how do I say this now? Most podcasts out there and most podcasters out there, they are just me too podcast. Like, oh, everybody has a podcast. I too have a podcast. But
Yeah.
you literally need to like. It's so like podcasting was made for you. Why don't you have a podcast?
I
Really?
love that you're saying that. I love that you're saying that. You know, I know nothing about podcasting.
You knew
I'm
nothing
just a
about
guest.
cooking when you started.
Okay, I'm
You
going
knew
to
nothing about
consider
a
that.
business when you
Yeah,
started.
it's true. It's true. Yeah, editing,
And you
all
can
it,
always get someone to help you out with the technical aspect.
we have to talk offline one of these days, because also if I hire someone to do it, I've got to pay them. So how do I monetize?
Yeah. If you hire someone, you have to pay them. Okay, this is a rough idea, but what you could possibly do is, let's say, for example, right? It's just, I don't know, I'll call it that. It's my show. It's not live. I'll call this part. That's the sweet thing about having your podcast. You can do whatever you like.
The sweet spot?
I said the sweet thing about having your show is that you can do whatever you like.
Good point. Good point. Yep.
Okay. What you could possibly do is, let's say you do one episode every week. That's like what most shows do. That's 4 right now. The kind of show you do is called, the Blind Kitchen. It's a literally a podcast, a cooking podcast for blind people, right? It's very clear. Now, if you do 4 episodes in a month, the editing and all that, you could find someone from the third world countries that are really good at what they do. But the price point, you're paying them very cheap. But it's what you're paying them because of the country where they're from. They is very high, but yet it's like it's a very small amount for you. But compared to like paying someone from the US, which if you pay them that amount, that would be literally look like you're violating the. Does that make sense?
So I think what you're saying is people's expectations for payment in other countries are less than I would probably pay US, but it would still be fair in other countries. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. So it's affordable, it's cheap. They're really good at what they do, irrespective of whether they're not from the US. But the amount you're paying them is higher than what they would get from their minimum wage from their country. But it's affordable. That's one
I
way.
see what you're saying. It's
The
a
other thing is that
win-win. Yeah.
so the other thing is that you have a business, the Blind Kitchen. So the podcast is a way for you to continue conversations with your what's it called, your customers, right? Because they bought these tools and everything, and so it would be nice. I don't know what the idea might be, but maybe a recipe show, something to talk about, something they can listen, something that is made for them. right? Because
Right, right.
as someone who cooks and who bought all these things, I don't want to be going to listen to. Of course, I could listen to a different cooking show, but that wasn't made for me. I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
Huh. No, I think I like the idea, and that's another
Yeah, it
thing that
wasn't
I've
made for
been.
me, right?
What wasn't made for you?
Like if I, so if as someone who's blind, if I'm listening to a regular cooking show, of course I can get what they're saying, but
Sure.
they don't get me. It's not, it's not, it's different from, you having a
Right,
conversation
right,
like, yeah. And, there's certain jokes you make that, someone who's blind, I would perfectly understand. It will make sense. It will be
right,
funny.
right. It's not
You
your
get
world.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I have got some people with some incredible stories that
exactly.
could be told for sure. And some people that are, blind from birth, they don't need any of my stuff. They just want to talk cooking. They figured it
Yeah,
out. They figured out long before
yeah,
they heard of the blind kitchen.
yeah,
And I love hearing their stories and how they do things.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's one route you could go. Get someone. They won't really need to be working that much. You pretty much. I was even surprised. I was like, I was like, if not that you mentioned, like, even though that I knew your profile, I read everything, and I knew that okay, you're blind, and when you hopped on the call, we talked. I like there was really no way for me to tell that. Oh yeah, like there was nobody set the things up for you. You set the things up, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Well, at first I was like, are you sure she's the one, or am I to wait for another?
No, it's real.
uh,
I've got spectrum lights on either side. I've been told
yeah, the
no.
lighting is great. Yeah,
No, like I've gotten help with all of that, but I still mess up sometimes where I'm not centered or my lipstick's off or something like that. So I
yeah,
always like to double check because we all want to look our best and present our best self, and that's the brand. There were a lot of videos out there, like cooking videos, that were very clumsy. The
yeah,
people knocking stuff over and whatever, and it's like it gave kind of a bad image of what being blind was like. And blindness does not
yeah.
have to be that way. It can be.
Exactly.
I certainly know some very messy cooks, and that's fine. I'm not judging, but I want the brand to be, you can be elegant. You don't have to put your eyes so close to something that you're bending over your stove to see the thermometer. Just
Yeah,
have a talking
yeah,
thermometer.
exactly.
It's as easy as it can get. We're
Yeah,
very brand conscious that we want this to be uh, clean, and so it's kind of funny. Edgar is my videographer, and will do a take, and then he'll come and set everything up, and he'll wipe off the counter, and he'll say, "Oh, there's a lot." He makes everything perfect every time, and I say, "Edgar, this is not what a blind kitchen looks like. It's not this setup."
no, it's
But it makes it
excellent.
look
It's
good. It
it's
is
it's
excellent.
excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
excellent.
is
It's
excellent.
excellent. Yeah, that's the thing. And the reason I think I've interviewed on one of my other podcasts, I interviewed I don't know if you know him. His name is Maxwell. He calls himself the blind blogger, and he
Oh
has a
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. He's
Yeah,
on Podmatch. Yeah.
yeah, he's on Podmatch. Yeah, I
I
interviewed him. Yeah,
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah. I've spoken with him, but I don't think he ever got around to interviewing me. He's got two different podcasts. I need to go back to nudge him again and say, "Hey, where are you?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, honestly, because the reason I'm saying is that you could have your show on radio because you already have the show, and then you can put it on radio, and you could partner with this radio and find a way to put it. It's an arrangement. Most of this radio, some of them they're like, okay, if you give us the content, we'll put ads and we can share the profit 50-50, stuff like that. Or you could just pay for the airtime and put whatever ads you want to put on it, or talk about your business. You already have a business, so that's free
Mhm.
advertising for you and also valuable content.
It's true. It's
It's a
true.
win-win.
I
Yeah,
after the new year, I'm gonna definitely look into that. We've got a huge holiday thing. First time we're buying Google Ads, and we've just got so much content that we prepared already for the months of October, November, and December. But after the new year, things will slow down, or we're going to grow so well, I can hire someone to help set this stuff up for me and get it going. Like you
yeah,
said, maybe someone in another country that would
yeah,
benefit. And yeah,
yeah. I just added your name to my task so I can remind you. Usually I always tell people that don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need any help. Nobody really takes me up on the offer. Probably they think that I'm joking. Or I don't know. I'm waiting for that day. I really want to celebrate. But nah, I don't think.
Oh, well,
Maybe
you
you might be the
sound
one, but
I could be the one. You sound very
yeah.
legitimate to me. It doesn't sound like you're,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah.
I just want to help. Like it's not like I don't have a service or any of those things I'm pitching, but I see very in what's the word now? You're trying to do good, right? And so
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to help, right? And hopefully I get to make a podcast best over in the internet. That would be nice. Where are you calling from?
I think so too. I think so too.
Yeah. Oh, we went totally off course.
We just what?
I said we went totally off course, but that's fine.
That's
That's
okay.
fantastic.
That's
Yeah,
why they
yeah.
have
All about having
editing.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's been really lovely chatting with you. Please do let me know, after this celebration and everything, if there's anything I can do for you, possibly, help you out, get things set up and organized and all that. I'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do believe I will reach out to you. I don't want to make promises I
Please
won't
do.
keep, but
I
I'm
know, I
very
get, yeah,
interested in it. Right now, I'm very, very interested into it. So I'll need to have more conversations with you, though,
yeah, of
to
course, of course.
yeah, to help me understand more of what it is. I only know I I schedule a time and then I sit down and I talk. And I don't know what you do on
Yeah,
your end of it. That's the thing, and
yeah.
I'd have to learn more about that.
Yeah, that's the sweet thing about being a guest is for most of the time you have more than 70 or 80% of what you need to be a podcast host, right? You already have
Right.
the technical things. Let's imagine if the roles were reversed, if you were interviewing me. We're having a lovely conversation, right? Of
Yes,
course, you need to
yes.
put all that things in place, but everything is great. The lighting and all that, all that. Wow, I have something to look forward to.
Well, thank you.
Project, Project Blind Kitchen.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, yeah. The last question I asked you was everything is part of the conversation. I don't know why I keep saying that it's different for the conversation because one of the core things yeah you mentioned is I just realized that I've gone over time. I mean, how many minutes over time now? I mean, 20. Yeah, it's 25 minutes over time. I'm so sorry. Yeah,
No, you're fine. No, I've enjoyed the conversation. And remember, it's early evening for me here.
it's
You're
it's
the
one
one
for
that's
it's 1:42 a.m. No, like I'm active. I don't even feel sleep. Like that's how like lovely the conversation is. Usually sometimes. Can I tell you a secret?
sure.
Yeah, sometimes when my guests respond, for some reason, I just it's a very brief zoning. I zone out. I don't know if you've experienced, somebody's response. No, it's you there, you're looking at them, but for some reason you just think about one, weird thought, and then you come back immediately, and you're like, oh yeah, 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 right?
And you hope the answer is yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, it's you did not forget them. Like it's you're probably just thinking of, oh yeah, that's true. This or that thing. It's there. It's
Sure,
happening
sure.
in your mind, and there's nothing that would probably give it away. But it
Right,
happens
right.
usually when the conversation is not just it's one sided, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, oh,
It happens to all of us. People are people, and
yeah,
some of them are going to be more interactive and yeah than others.
yeah,
That's for sure.
yeah. I really do feel that. Most of the times, right, it's all about sharing an idea and telling people what
Hmm.
is possible. And that's usually what you need, right? People will figure out the training and all those other things by themselves, but you just need to know that it's possible. And your own story and plenty other persons have interviewed goes on to show that it is possible, even to those that have similar disabilities, including
Hmm.
regular people too. Because the same thing the conversation I have with the Maxwell is he's like, yeah, if I can do it, you can do it too, and that just go. It's not just it's one of those things that the messenger is as important as the message.
It is true, and the other thing I want to say is there's a lot of people, especially with age-related vision loss, that don't consider themselves blind or even really visually impaired. They just can't hear as well or they can't see as well, but they don't have hips anymore, A lot of stuff
Yeah,
happens when you get older but they don't identify as blind or visually impaired, and that's part of the people I'm trying to reach as well because they if you like to grill and barbecue and go outside and it gets dark and you can't see anymore, because it's dark or for whatever reason, a talking thermometer would be a wonderful thing for you to have. And the right hand protection would be, whether you call yourself blind or not, there's a lot of other people out there that could use the stuff in the blind kitchen. So there's a whole nother market. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this conversation. Looking forward, right? I'd love to
Mhm.
know, what are some of the projections, exciting projects that is happening in Blind Kitchen, the
So
Blind Kitchen. Yeah.
I've just written a curriculum. So there's a big problem. So there's funding for young adults, people still in high school, ages 14 to 22. There's funding available from the federal government because they want
Yeah.
those kids to believe that they can work and get a job. So it's
Yeah.
about that. But I have found that when I teach them in a teaching kitchen in a workshop environment, they cook along, they cut, they cook, they do everything they're supposed to do, and then they go home and their parents won't let them in their own kitchens. The sighted parents are terrified of their blind or visually impaired children to use their own equipment, and they don't know how to make it accessible. Nobody's ever taught them
Yeah.
how. They've never had vision loss. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to be able to well, I've already got the curriculum written to educate these parents on how it's very easy to make your stove and oven adaptive. It depends on how old the kid is. Are they impulsive? Are they strong enough? Are they tall enough? I mean, not every kid's going to be able to do everything, but there's a
Yeah.
whole continuum of tools that parents could start when the children are very young, like 3 years old, that they could actually help with the family meal. They're not going to stand in front of a stove or carry a pot of boiling water, of course,
Yeah.
but they can help, like slice strawberries with a little wired slicer where their fingers are never underneath the wires can't
Yeah.
touch your hand. It'll just cut through the food. Kids can do that.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I that's exciting.
It
And
is. It is.
yeah, when that eventually becomes, the curriculum. You say you wrote the curriculum. Is it a curriculum you just writing the curriculum, or it's a curriculum that's eventually going to be a video on video and sorry, not video. That's eventually going to be taught by you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly right. I will go to wherever you want, and you can put as many parents in front of me, and you'll pay me for my time. We won't do any actual food preparation if I'm dealing with parents because they already know how to cook. I'm teaching
Yeah.
them how to teach their children, and then they purchase a collection of the tools so that they can then leave my workshop and go
Ready to
home
go.
and
Yeah.
be able to apply those in their own kitchens.
Oh, that's lovely. And yeah, it's nice that the federal government is supporting, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Right now, the government does not have any funding for parents of blind children. They only have funding for the blind children. So it's an interesting problem.
Yeah.
But not all
Yeah.
but not all I mean, sometimes there's parent organizations of blind children. There's different affiliates, and so I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. Most people can make things happen. We'll see. It's relatively new, only a couple of months old, and I've had a lot of interest. But I did do one class here in the Portland area, and that went really well. So we'll see if other people, and I didn't have to travel. See, they'd have to pay my travel and accommodations as well. And I didn't have to travel. So that was a little less pricey than if I were to, go to another state.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Deborah. It's
Thank
been
you.
lovely chatting with you. I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation. Next year, probably maybe in January, February. I don't know. We'll figure out the logistics later on.
Sounds
Well, it's
great.
been lovely listening to your story because oof,
It's been a
one of the
ride.
key takeaway I take from this story is you can always write a new chapter.
That's a good point. I like how you put that. But I'm
Yeah.
not writing any more chapters. I'm good.
Well, what's happening?
What's next? I'm going to climb a mountain. No.
I know there are a lot of chapters to go, right? Like if you do
We'll
decide to
see.
start a podcast in the future,
That would be another chapter. That's true.
that's a new chapter, right? We
That's
always start
true.
a new chapter, right? And
Hmm.
then sometimes we just need to keep writing pages for this chapter.
It's true too. That's true too.
Thank you so much. Where can listeners, you mentioned the curriculum, the resources, you said they're all available for free for people to check out on the site. Um, where can they do that? And also connect with the other projects you're working on?
Sure. So we're web-based. You go to theblindkitchen.com or you can write to me at info@theblindkitchen.com. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter, which is very popular, and we keep it really short and sweet. And we introduce a new tool each month. And then if you are, and we give a short description. If you're interested in, you can click and go to the website and learn more. If you're not, you just go down to the next thing. It's a tip of the month. Doesn't cost any money at all. And then the other thing, sometimes we have a recipe. I don't always have time to get one together, but a recipe would be in there and you could click again through it to the website. But the other thing is we always give a promo code for a free gift for that month. So if you type in that promo code, you will receive a free gift.
Oh,
And that only goes to the newsletter subscribers. So
thank you so much. I'll put all the relevant links in the description so
okay,
listeners can
thank
just
you.
click and go directly to the site. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you, Deb.
Same here. You have a good night.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.